So we back, and we're about to hit push today. I got my push A session today, so we're gonna see how that goes. Yeah, plan is to take some numbers. So just sitting in my car, getting the mind right before I go in, and we're gonna have a good session today. We're gonna have a really good session. We rocking the Kenyan hoodie here, and even the Kenyan joggers. These are custom joggers I made. LTPS, which stands for Let the Physique Speak, or even in this case with the off season, it could be Let the Performance Speak. But yeah, just a phrase I made up years ago. But yeah, we're here and we're gonna take you guys along. So push A session today, and yeah, so this is the first push A session I've done at full volume. The last session I did was actually D volume, so I was doing less working sets than normal and not taking sets quite to failure there. But yeah, so back at the full volume here, and so overall a good session, and it was pretty much when it's planned. Stability was up on my compound movements today, which is what I was going into this session expecting. And I already had, numbers pretty much planned out for movement. But yeah, things went well. Started out with the cuffed lateral raises, which I typically start out with on this session. And I do, 3 working sets of these typically. And so like the last session, I only did 2 because I was doing less volume. But this session, 3 sets there, and typically in that 10 to 20 rep range. And I just filmed 1 set here, but felt really good overall. So they felt solid. So I pretty much just looked at, like what I had done the last session. And yeah, the last session that I was at full volume, I looked at the numbers I had hit and pretty much used the same weight and aimed to progress in reps if I could from that session. And I was able to do so, actually, I believe, on all sets, all 3 sets. I was able to actually progress in reps. And so that was the goal for this movement. And as you can see, I'm actually trying to really bring my arm up very high here because, with the cable setup here, you're still plenty of tension when you the further you come up. So yeah, I try to really come up, and it's a lot harder to do them that way. You can use a lot more weight when you're not really using that full range of motion there. So always doing these at the start of my push A session, and it's just such a great movement, man. And honestly, doing these with cables, not that you have to, but for me, they feel great. And especially, with using the cuffs, it's pretty much like you don't even think so much about what your hands are doing. And it just feels really natural. So, if you can do if you do have access to a cuff, I should say, then, give those a shot. But, first compound movement of the day, flat Smith press here, and this was nice. Last session, I only did 2 sets. I had only gone up to 275 actually on that session, and so it was nice to fill out this weight again, which I didn't fill out last session. It was good. I hit 5 reps here, which nothing to brag about, but it was good because when I compare it to like the previous session, so the last session was D volume, but the session prior to that, which was the full volume, the last full volume session, I had done the same weight for 5, but I know that I didn't really have as much control. Like this session, if you looked at that set, I had, some pauses at the bottom of the reps, which I did not have prior. So that was a win. It's not always a win just if you're doing more reps, but sometimes it's just if, you're using more control. So like I'm comparing that previous session where I did the same weight, same reps, but less control. So that was a win. And yeah, this was the second set, which honestly, I was kind of disappointed in the amount of reps I got. I was planning to get more, but I was not expecting, I guess, how fatigued I was going to be after that first set. So I didn't get quite as many reps as I would have liked. I would like to stay in that 6 to 10 rep range for this second set here. And I was just a little bit, I only hit like 5 there, so not quite what I wanted. Not quite what I was hoping. Last session I did 275 for 9, so I was thinking I could go up to 280 and, fare pretty decently. But the fact of the matter is that last session, I started out with a 275. I didn't do a set before that. So, yeah, there's going to be fatigue carrying over from one set to the next. So, yeah, but, I just noted that down. And so, yeah, then I went into the final set, which, typically I'll do 3 working sets for this movement for now. And, yeah, try to stick in that, honestly, I would say 10 to 12 rep range, but I only hit 8 reps here, unfortunately. But overall, a good set here. So I'm not mad about it. I just pretty much looked at what I did the previous session. If I look at the last full volume session I did for my push A, then I actually did the same weight for 8 reps, so I pretty much matched it there. So, not wonderful, but not terrible. I think overall the control was there. So, yeah, I'm still kind of playing around with, how far to be on the bench. How far I should be up on the bench for the this movement. If you looked at, the first set, you could see, I was kind of, closer. Or actually, I was further away from the rack. And then, on the second set, I was a bit closer. So I'm kind of still experimenting with little things like how far up I'm on the bench versus how far back I am, And so those are all little things, with your training, you should be thinking about. And, you kind of got to play around with, positioning on movements and finding what feels best. But yeah, so those are overall good, here I got the high incline Smith, and this was, again, first session back at this weight, because last session I only did the back off set for the high incline. So this was not as good as I wanted. I only got 4 reps, which is pretty poor. The control was decent, the range of motion was good, but honestly it wasn't wonderful. I was hoping for more reps, but, I'll just note that for next time. The next time I'm planning to go in and just pretty much do the same weight and progress, a rep or 2 if I can. And then I got only 8.5 here. This ended up being a little disappointing at the end. The last rep, it's it looked like it was going to come up and it just wasn't coming up. So, yeah, a little disappointing there, but... these are, again, I just, log these movements down, what weight I used, how many reps I hit with that movement, and then, I just use that data next session. Next session I'm planning to go in and do, 225 again, and aiming to do more than 4 reps. I'm aiming to do 185 again and aiming to do more than 8, and so you're seeing here, it looks like I'm doing, what am I doing? Am I doing flat Smith press again? Well, I consider this close grip Smith. So it may just be slight, but grip is actually in slightly. My elbows are, a bit more closer together, and I'm focusing more on the lockout. So what happened here is previously I was running weighted dips on this push A session, but these past sessions I haven't been able to find a dip belt. So I was having to just do body weighted dips. So I decided, you know what? I'm just going to do close grip Smith. So I just did 1 top set, 1 back off. Basically just my tricep focused press of the day. And you can see here, spending a little more time in that lockout. And elbows are a little more close together. Grip's a little bit closer. Disappointing on this back off. I did not get as many reps as I would have wanted, but normally I don't even do this on this session, so I kind of had to guesstimate the weight I would use. I was looking at what I did on my push B session, which is when I typically would run the flat Smith, and I try to pretty much use similar weight, but Yeah, so that was that. You know, sometimes you have to adapt. Like, ideally, I would love to do the weighted dips, but I don't have a dip belt right now. So it's like you just gotta switch things up. It's like, you know, you got to be able to do that with your training. It's not really that big of a deal at the end of the day. You know, as long as you can safely perform the movements, and you can bias the muscles you want to bias with those movements, then there's no one set in stone movement you have to do. So you have tricep extensions here, 3 working sets. Only filmed 1 there, but 3 working sets there, and then 3 working sets with the overhead single arm extension. And yeah, I mean, I've been doing this same movement for a long time here, and I mean, it feels good for me, and so yeah, I don't switch up my movements a ton, man. Like I can be pretty boring with my training where I can do the same movements for a long period of time and not get super tired of it in a way. And I think that is important with bodybuilding. You know, you have to embrace the boring aspects of it. And, you know, if you're somebody that's always wanting to switch up your movements every week or change up your workouts, you know, I don't know if bodybuilding is really for you, man, because, you know, that long-term progression, man, you have to embrace the boring aspects of it where you're doing a lot of the same movements. It's not that you can't have any variation, but, you know, for the most part, you're doing more or less the same movements for extended periods of time and just aiming to get better at them, you know. You got to, like, embrace that, you know, to get, you know, really good progress. You know, you can do anything initially and make progress when you start lifting, but for years and years and years, you know, at some point you have to embrace those things. But here, 3 working sets of the ab crunch machine, and this was it. You know, this is the full session. The only thing I didn't film was I actually do 3 sets of the cuff laterals at a hip level height. So where I had the pulley set like in line with my hips. So I actually do 2 lateral raise movements today, but I was not able to film that one. Very similar to the cuff laterals at the start though, but very solid session. And the pressing movements are pathetic looking right now, but trust me, they're going to improve in time. So that's another good session in the books today. We're gaining some more momentum here, and yeah, definitely not happy with where my pressing is right now. Not at all, but it's only going to improve in time. So the more, you know, the longer I'm in a surplus again and the more my body weight comes up, then yeah, the more improvements are going to come. So, yep. Ending out the night with some Greek yogurt and some almond butter. So, yeah, more training videos to come. If you guys want any other type of videos, definitely feel free to comment below. And we're out.